Well, good evening, folks. It is Shooter Scott Henderson. At the end of our presentation, please do review our disclosures. We are going to go over swing trade notes. It is January 25th. Actually, it's just about midnight. Tomorrow is my granddaughter's birthday. She turns 5, so we're going to spend some time there. So I wanted to get this out because I don't know if I'm going to be back before Monday morning. So, all right, let's jump into it here. All right, now we have FOMC this week, and I think the market has already, just because we haven't, even though breadth has been expanding, the put call ratio has been expanding to the call side. Clearly, earnings have been solid. I think the market is already baking in that the Fed just doesn't cut rates here. So I think we get a decent rally. The Fed gives us 25 basis points. Now, I'm not talking 3 or 5%, but we could see 1.5 or 2%, I think. So that's sort of my steady as she goes thought. Dovish lean, where rate cuts are in sight, or continuation of that, or a hawkish tone is what we don't see, where inflation worries have resurfaced. So what we really want to watch is the language that comes back out after the minutes. Now realize in all FOMC minutes, the first move is the wrong move. So don't ever get caught up in that. All right, let's look at our performance last week. And we did a little over $7 a contract. Not a bad week. Actually, it's not been a bad start to the year. That does not include the cash secured puts that were sold. So that number's pretty solid. Of course, we'll adjust those as those trades expire longer term. So we're as accurate as we can. We also added a year-to-date percentage gain to give you a visual of the overall success of swing trading, or how it can work. You have great weeks, you have great months, you have great quarters. You have crappy weeks, crappy months, and sometimes crappy quarters. Thankfully, I've learned where I need to back off a little bit. And, this week was one. I did add ETHU, which is a leverage 2X Ethereum ETF. And really that was on the Lightning Network. A buzz that it's going to really pump Ethereum. I like the way the chart looked anyways, because we've had this elongated base, and I'm still expecting this altcoin bull market to come, especially when Bitcoin pushes over 110, 120K, I think. Then we have, a little more. We took partial profits on Dash. I'm still, even though it's FOMC week, so I'm not adjusting my position size. However, next week we probably will for the following week, simply because we're over a 70% win rate. So we're there. Going into the end of the month is the number. I won't adjust until I've had a 30-day timeline where we've maintained that win rate. Then we'll adjust upward from there. All right, let's jump into earnings. Now, because of FOMC, I really just tried to avoid earnings because there's too many possible black swans. But, knowing me, depending on how good my scalping is Monday and Tuesday, I may want to add risk. What really interests me, even though I don't really want to take the risk of missing on a Tesla, but China's numbers have been good, so that might be something I want to put on. ASML has, had a decent pullback. That might be something else I want to add. Also still like the banks that are reporting, Synchrony particularly, because AMX reported really solid. And then we have MasterCard on Thursday before the open. So those are really the four that I'm thinking about. I think Wolfspeed does well. I think NASDAQ does well. I think ADP does well. I think Microsoft does well. And even Apple might really surprise, I think, only because we had, a slew of holiday promotions from all of the telecom as far as unit sales, and we haven't seen that data yet. And then we have Aviv and XOM and Chevron on Friday. So that's pretty much where my 2 cents are. Either I have a good Monday and Tuesday, or I won't add anything. That's sort of my thought. I could have a stellar Monday and then jump right into it. Now, something else, by the way, I love corrective criticism or any kind of criticism. You don't like something, I would love to hear from you. What do you think we should or shouldn't do, or trade, etc. Because I'll think about it and then decide whether I want to put it in there. But we did add, some comments about scaling in because somebody, or scaling out because somebody had made a comment about that. I appreciate that, by the way. I won't throw anybody under the bus, but hey, I do appreciate that. So we elaborated on other alternatives. Now, I personally like to use trailing stops. When I scale in, and let's say I buy a total of 30 contracts on something, I like to break it down and do a trailing stop on the first 10, then another trailing stop on the second 10, and another trailing stop on the third 10. So I don't even have to look at it. That's my game plan. I don't want to be once I'm in a trade. I don't like babysitting. That's not something I want to do. I do what I enjoy to do, and really I want to stay in that box. So my exit strategy is all about just as simple as it can be that gets me the results that I want so I can rinse and repeat. I want to click a button and be done with it. So that's my 2 cents. I would suggest that you guys do something similar to that, unless you really are one of these people that just have a wonderful time on micromanaging. I don't. So, all right, let's jump into the setups for the week. Now, CAVA, we put in chat. Now, you'll start seeing this more and more where I enter the trade before the weekend and then obviously post the update within swing trade notes, and then we'll do this public version here. The reason is I'm trying to give the folks in chat a benefit for being a rare member, which, by the way, if you're not a rare member, I would love to see you in chat, because ultimately that helps pay for these expenses that we have with all this tech that we have coming in, and maybe one of these days it gets profitable. So, but CAVA, jumping into this, just pulling the chart up, really this drawdown, this ABC, this extended ABC, nice base, divergence, confirmed low, divergent low, nice, we broke above it, first give, we're above the 23.6 and we're flagging, which is the reason I really. Now, it's probably a tad bit late, right? Just a tad bit late, but it's not broken out again. So I still expect to push to 131, which is, nice $7, should be pretty profitable. The conservative investor sells April 110 put, right? Plenty of room there. I don't think we're getting back down there, roughly right around here where our B was. If we get below that, then, hey, something's really got to happen. But this is hitting the buzz continually, an unusual option. Not a huge number coming in, but just consistent. And then, I actually would like, depending on what RSI is doing, what the other indicators are doing at that time, once we get above that 131, I may or may not hold for a longer period of time. Kind of my thought with Dash. Right now, I want to pull back in Dash to add more back onto it. But at this point, I'm still watching it because there's plenty of upside. But so the thought is that we have a target around 131. You could buy March 130 calls as well. Now, I just risk your prior low. I wouldn't risk more than $4 on this. Just that's my 2 cents. All right, now Palantir. I really struggled to find stuff that I liked that was in the right spot. It was really slim picking, and PLTR had a huge number of unusual options in large blocks all the way up to $87. And, when I looked at the earnings history, back off of this chart for a second, I pull the earnings history up because I posted, right? And, what I noticed is that when we beat these, it's a 10% beat, it's 20% beat, 30% beat. And then we miss, it's down 15%. And if we look at the tech, I don't think this is going to give it up here, because this is just where you got a bunch of profit taking. It really didn't. I mean, look at how broad this buy zone is, which really measures this prior top, right? And we basically came. I mean, we're not pushing the low side. We came right back. Look at how we had this aggressive push higher, and we're continuing here. We're struggling with a little bit to get to all-time high, which is why my wave target is at 91. So now looking at this, I don't like the potential of this missing and crushing my gains because of the cost of the premium to put the calls. All right. So the conservative bloke comes in and sells March. Shouldn't say bloke, but hey, we all are at some time. March $65 put, right? Or the more aggressive, sells February $75, right? They're just targeting earnings. I think it was on the 3rd. So you're just targeting that earnings. You're looking for your 15-20% gain, and then you're moving on. So this is, again, an FOMC week kind of trade. That's sort of my thought pattern with it. I wanted something simple that could work, that the likelihood that it fails with that many unusual options contracts out there, to me, is slim. So that's one reason. All right. Now, D-Wave Quantum Inc. Now, I'm not sold on this quantum stuff yet, but it really is a beautiful looking chart here. We went up and we tested the gap, right? Rejected higher prices. It rolled over. Now it's doing this DDDD thing, and then it's going to head higher. And I spent quite a little time on this because I just like the look. I just like this aggressive push that we got on the quantum euphoria. It's still the buzz. So 50% back is $7.50. So that's the basic trade. But what I really liked on this setup was a bull call spread. Basically, you're risking about $1.77, I think it was, a contract in total. And it closes below, as long as it doesn't close below $4, you should be in the money at some point. At $4, the closer it gets to it, you're just losing money. I mean, it's basically a total loss. But the upside is, maybe 250%. So if you buy to open the $4, 417 calls, right, at roughly $265 a contract, and you sell to open the QBT $10 calls on 417.25, they're 88 cents. And that was after, spent a little time with Option Strat, looking at the different strategies. Again, this is an earnings week thought, but I also like the idea of the upside. We get above that $10, obviously you're going to be trimming the $10 side, right? If we get up there, if you're not well into the money at 848, so you're going to be trimming in anything above that 848. So if you take this trade and you have questions, just raise it in chat. I'll tell you what to do at the moment and where we are and keep you up to speed. But that's what we have for this week, folks. Again, we stayed light because of FOMC. Great trading. Until next.